Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos speaking out last night at the Economic Club of Washington. He made comments on everything from regulation to Amazon's headquarters to announcement. He even touched on the company's stock. Listen.
At almost every all-hands meeting, I say, look, when the stock is up 30% in a month, don't feel 30% smarter. Because when the stock is down 30% in a month, it's not going to feel so good to feel 30% dumber. And never spend any time thinking about the daily stock price. I don't.
Bezos also talked about the regulation of large corporations.
My view on this is very simple. All big institutions of any kind are going to be and should be examined, scrutinized, inspected. Governments should be inspected. Government institutions, big educational institutions, big nonprofits, big companies. They're going to get scrutiny. It's not personal. It's kind of what we as a society want to have happen.
One big thing everybody's waiting for, the location of Amazon's second headquarters. Bezos said HQ2 will be announced by the end of the year. The point, guys, on scrutiny was sort of interesting for a company and a CEO that is heavily scrutinized right now by both parties in Washington. He didn't really touch on Senator Bernie Sanders' attacks on the worker conditions, but just on, he could have been more political and he could have been more fiery in his comments. And I thought actually he was pretty measured and said, bring it on. Consumers love low prices and choice, and that's what we do. Doesn't seem like a guy who's very worried or on pins and needles waiting to see what the politicians are going to accuse him of.
He's a pretty rational human being, is Mr. Bezos. Scrutinize, don't vilify, seems to make sense in many ways. And of course, as you heard, extending that to beyond corporations, to a lot of different institutions of importance to our society. It's hard to argue with anything he said. No. I mean, the man, he just keeps moving forward in a very rational, logical manner.
Although one thing people are scrutinizing a little bit is, so he announced this $2 billion in charity, and some people are wondering, that's it? I mean, it's a guy that's worth more than $160 billion. It's, I think, 1.3% of his total net worth.
It's classic.
It's a lot, but it's not much.
Proportionally.
Compared to what Gates has done. But
sure.
Bezos, I mean, he did say he would have some announcements at the end of the summer, I think, regarding philanthropy. Maybe this is what it was.
He had solicited some suggestions of how to play it. He's been criticized for spending, or saying he will spend a lot of his fortune on space development, as opposed to, say, Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan giving 99% of their fortune away eventually to charity. We'll see. I mean, people have different priorities, but to demonize him like he was demonized for a $2 billion gift seemed weird.
Seemed weird, but the Recode headline this morning is $2 billion in charity, not enough for Jeff Bezos to slink out of the public limelight. He also told David Rubenstein last night that he was fine being the second richest person in the world, I guess when asked about how he felt to overtake Bill Gates.
It's better to be number two in some ways. I remember Jack Ma complaining about being the richest man in China, that it would be much better to be a little bit down the list and not have quite that profile. I can imagine that, because you don't get on them as much, I guess, about all their charity and their philanthropy, right?
And everything else.
But it changes every day with Bezos, given it is
16% stake.
16.1% of Amazon is what he owns.
Yeah, a little down, a little bit today. I can't do the math that quickly, but shares are down $12.